Hare Krishna. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll begin with the prayers. Om Jnana Timirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Mano Bhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Eva Cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Mudirayet Nashtaprayeshu Abhatreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki. So we are reading from Canto 4, Chapter 21. And the chapter is entitled Instructions by Maharaj Prithu. And so far we have read 14 verses. And what has happened is that Maharaj Prithu in the previous chapter had performed a sacrifice, a huge sacrifice. And actually all these chapters have been like very, very interesting. Prior to that, he appeared as the son of King Vena, and he later on becomes angry at Mother Earth because some of his citizens complain that they have been performing their duties, but they are not being rewarded by Mother Earth. So he becomes angry at Mother Earth, and Mother Earth, she takes the form of a cow in order to protect herself from the anger of Maharaj Prithu. But he is a very upright king. So he wants to do whatever is best. And if anybody does not give themselves in service to others, the king has the ability to punish them. So he punishes Mother Earth. Although she is in the shape of a cow, he chases her after with his sword. And finally, Mother Earth does what a devotee does in times of trouble. She takes shelter of Maharaj Prithu because she knows that Maharaj Prithu is not just a great king, but also a Shaktavesha avatar. He is an empowered incarnation who has been empowered with the ruling potency of the Supreme Lord. So she surrenders to him, and she gives him a method how he could milk her and obtain whatever is required by different people. So she it's a very, very interesting story. And basically she describes that just as Mother Cow, when she sees her calf, she gives milk. And similarly, now she's in the form of a cow. So if everybody comes in the form of a calf, they can get whatever they want. And in that very, very interesting section, there are so many, many, many living entities who take the shape of cow. The demigods take the shape of cow, and they come and milk the earth, and the demons, the reptiles, and so many different things. They take the shape of a cow, and they obtain everything that is needed for their subsistence. Then Maharaj Prithu, he performs a 100 horse sacrifice. And then there is another interesting section in that story. So Indra becomes envious of Maharaj Prithu, because anybody who performs a 100 horse sacrifices becomes eligible to become the king of heaven. So he comes in the form of a Brahmana, and he comes and he steals the sacrificial horse of Maharaj Prithu. And his son, Maharaj Prithu's son, and I believe, who was he? I think it was, I don't remember the name of the sage. I think it was Brigu, or somebody, like basically one of the sages who was attending the sacrifice. He actually spots that it's not a sannyasi who has come to steal the horse. It's actually Indra, who is envious of Maharaj Prithu and wants to steal the horse. So they finally, like, he attempts 2 or 3 times before he gets caught. And finally, what happens is that, like, Brahma, he comes himself, and even the Supreme Lord, he comes to beg forgiveness from Maharaj Prithu for stopping the horse sacrifice. They pacify him and they tell him, please be satisfied with 99 horse sacrifices. You don't have to perform that extra one sacrifice. That is disturbing the mind of Indra too much. So he stops the sacrifice. He forgives Indra. I mean, he is so magnanimous. Just as Indra comes in front of him, he embraces Indra and he immediately forgives him. And finally, what we also see is that Lord Vishnu appears in the sacrificial arena during the same pastime, and he gives many, many beautiful instructions to Maharaj Prithu. He speaks to Maharaj Prithu. And finally, after the Supreme Lord leaves, Maharaj Prithu is back in his kingdom. So this chapter 21 begins with how the citizens received Maharaj Prithu by beautifully decorating the roads, the palaces, everything. At the street crossings, there were bunches of fruits and flowers. There were pillars of banana trees and betel nut branches. Basically, everything was very, very attractive. And Maharaj Prithu is entering the kingdom, and he is a very generous leader. Not only is he welcoming people who are rich and learned, but he's also equally bestowing his blessings to people who are simple. And he's worshipped by all the great souls. And finally, we are at a section where there is description of where Maharaj Prithu lived. He lived between the 2 rivers, Ganga and Yamuna, and he was very, very opulent. He was unrivaled king, and he worshipped the Brahmanas. So we are actually in text 15 today. We have, anybody who wants to read, I see many devotees are here today. So if anybody would like to read, please read.
Mataji, I can try.
Sure, Mataji.
15. Pramshupinayata bhujo gaurakanarune shana sunasa sumukha saumya pimam sa sudvijasmita. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. King Prithu's body was tall and sturdy. His complexion was fair. His arms were full, and broad, and his eyes as bright as the rising sun. His nose was straight, and his face very beautiful, and his personality grave. His teeth were set beautifully in his smiling face. Perfect. Amongst the four social orders, Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra, the Kshatriyas, both men and women, are generally very beautiful, as will be apparent from the following verses. And it is to be concluded that not only were Maharaj Prithu's bodily features attractive, as described here, but he had specific, all auspicious signs in his bodily construction. As it is said, the face is the index of the mind. One's mental constitution is exhibited by his facial features. The bodily features of a particular person are exhibited in accordance with his past deeds. For according to one's past deeds, his next bodily features, whether in human society, animal society, or demigod society, are determined. This is the proof of transmigration of the soul through different types of bodies. So, here uh, Lord Prithu is being described, his looks are being described, how tall he was. He was sturdy because he was a Kshatriya. His complexion was fair, and his arms were long and full and broad, and his eyes were bright as the rising sun. His nose was straight. He did not have a crooked nose or a fat nose, straight and nice nose. His face very beautiful, and his personality grave. His teeth were set beautifully in his smiling face. So it is said that there are four varnas: Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra. And the Kshatriyas are supposed to be, Kshatriya men and women are supposed to be generally very beautiful. They are also supposed to be very strong. So that is why when Arjuna and Bhima, they dressed as Brahmanas and went to Jarasandha to um, ask for a fight. So Jarasandha could not believe that they were Brahmanas because they had those strong shoulders and strong arms. And so it was very difficult for him. And he immediately said that you don't look like Brahmanas. So that is why, in the olden days, actually, when the Vedic culture was prevalent, one could make out if a person is Brahmana, Kshatriya, a Vaishya, or Shudra, just by even their bodily features. The Brahmanas were supposed to be very thin, very fair. They had shikhas. They had a brilliance on their face because of the knowledge and because of all the rituals or their uh, whatever they were practicing. And the Kshatriyas were supposed to be very strong. One could make out that this person is a Kshatriya, and he was in the mode of passion. Brahmanas were supposed to be in the mode of goodness, and that one could make out from their behavior, from their walk, from their talk, the way they looked, the way they dressed. One could make out. And Vaishyas, they were mixed in passion and ignorance, and Shudras in the mode of ignorance. So the Shudras, because they were in the mode of ignorance, it was generally said that they did not look very good. So they were dark complexion. They did not have beautiful features. So all this is mentioned here that Pruthu's bodily features attractive, but he had specific all auspicious signs in his bodily construction. So all these auspicious signs, because he was a Shaktavish avatar, that is why he had different auspicious signs in his body. As it is said, the face is the index of the mind. So one's mental constitution is exhibited by the facial features. So it is said that his personality was grave. So one could make out that this person is in the mode of passion. He is very determined. he knows what his duties as a king are. He is in control. He's ready to take charge. So all those um, aspects could be, one could make out from his face. So the bodily features of a particular person are exhibited in accordance with the past deeds. So according to your past deeds, if your deeds are good, then it is said that you also, as a reward, you get a good body, a good looking body, a fair body, a tall body, nice features. Then you also can take birth in a good family. So all these are rewards of your previous life's pious deeds. And if your deeds are not good, then you might not have a good body. You may be dark skin, short, may have some uh, disabilities, or you may be born in a family which is not very well to do, or you may not have good education. So all these are results of your past deeds. But for Pruthu, because he is a Shaktavesha avatar, these things are actually not applicable, but for human society it is applicable. So if we even want, if a person doesn't want to get liberated, but even if you believe that there is a next life, and this is showing that there is a next life, there is a transmission of soul, because all these signs are showing that if you are getting a good life, you are born in a rich family, you're born in a very family of transcendentalists, all these are because of your pious activities. So one should perform pious activities at least for the sake of having a better life, if you don't want liberation, or if you don't get a chance of liberation. That's all I have, Mataji. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Antaranga Seva Mataji. Rasarasika Prabhu, would you like to read the next verse?
Hare Krishna. Okay, I can read the next one. Okay. Verse 16. Vyudavaksha Brihakronir Vali Valgu Dalodara Avarta Nabir Ojasvi Kankanor Udagrapat. Translation.
I just wanted to interrupt for a second that I cannot see the screen. Is it with everybody or only me? I can't see the screen, not even the words or anything. It's just a little bit of somebody. So is it with
Ruchi Mataji, I think like it happens to me also. Sometimes I cannot see the screen. If you want in the chat, I can send you the link.
Link to what?
I will send you the link to the Veda base. You will be able to see it there. I don't know why it happens. Sometimes it happens to me also. So I'm sending you the link into the Veda base for the same chapters.
Yeah, I can't see the toolbar or anything. Just basically it says Leela Manjari Dasi. That's all I can see.
Okay, then I don't know why.
On my phone, it's working fine. If I turn my phone sideways, it becomes much bigger.
Okay, Ruchi Mataji, let me send it to you on WhatsApp, okay? Because I don't think this is working for you.
Okay, will I continue? Or
yes, Prabhu, please continue.
All right. Translation. The chest of Maharaj Prithu was very broad. His waist was very thick, and his abdomen, wrinkled by lines of skin, resembled in construction a leaf of a banyan tree. His navel was coiled and deep, his thighs were of a golden hue, and his instep was arched. Text 17. Sukshma Vakrasita Snigda Murdaja Kandara Mahadane Dukulagre Paridaya Paridayo Paviyocha. Translation: the black, slick hair on his head was very fine and curly, and his neck, like a conch shell, was decorated with auspicious lines. He wore a very valuable dhoti, and there was a nice wrapper on the upper part of his body. Text 18. Vyanjita Sesha Gatra Srir Niyame Nyasta Bhushana Krishna Jina Dara Sriman Kushapani Kritochita. Translation: as Maharaj Prithu was being initiated to perform the sacrifice, he had to leave aside his valuable dress, and therefore his natural bodily beauty was visible. It was very pleasing to see him put on a black deerskin and wear a ring of kusha grass on his finger, for this increased the natural beauty of his body. It appears that Maharaj Prithu observed all the regulative principles before he performed the sacrifice. Text 19. Shishira Snigdha Taraksha Samakshata Samatata Uvi Uchivan Idam Urvisa Sada Samharsha Yaniva. Translation: just to encourage the members of the assembly and to enhance their pleasure, King Prithu glanced over them with eyes that seemed like stars in a sky wet with dew. Then he spoke to them in a great voice. Charu Chitra Padam Shlakshnam Mrishtam Gudam Aviklavam Sarvesham Upakaratam Tada Anuvadan Iva. Translation: Maharaj Prithu's speech was very beautiful, full of metaphorical language, clearly understandable, and very pleasing to hear. His words were all grave and certain. It appears that when he spoke, he expressed his personal realization of the absolute truth in order to befit all who were present. Purport: Maharaj Prithu was beautiful in his external bodily features, and his speech was also very glorious in all respects. His words, which were nicely composed and highly metaphorical, ornamental language, were pleasing to hear, and were not only mellow, but also very clearly understandable and without doubt or ambiguity. Verse 21. Rajo Vacha Sabhyas Shrinuta Bhadrambha Sadavoya Ihagata Satsu Jigna Subir Dharmam Avidyam Sarvamanistam. Translation: King Prithu said, O gentle members of the assembly, may all good fortune be upon you. May all of you great souls who have come to attend this meeting kindly hear my prayer attentively. A person who is actually inquisitive must present his decision before an assembly of noble souls. Purport: in this verse, the word sadava, all great souls, is very significant. When a person is very great and famous, many unscrupulous persons become his enemies, for envy is the nature of materialists. In any meeting, there are different classes of men, and therefore it is to be supposed that because Prithu Maharaj is very great, he must have had several enemies present in the assembly, although they could not express themselves. Maharaj Prithu, however, was concerned with persons who were gentle, and therefore he first addressed all the honest persons, not caring for the envious. He did not, however, present himself as the royal authority empowered to command everyone, for he wanted to present his statement in humble submission before the assembly of great sages and saintly persons. As a great king of the entire world, he could have given them orders, but he was so humble, meek, and honest that he presented a statement for approval in order to clarify his mature decision. Everyone within this material world is conditioned by the modes of material nature and therefore has 4 defects. But although Prithu Maharaj was above all these, still, like an ordinary conditioned soul, he presented his statements to the great souls, sages, and saintly persons present there. So we see here the great transcendental qualities of King Prithu, very humble and praying for the he's going to say a prayer, and he's asking everyone to hear him attentively. So he's addressing this audience, and these great souls are present, and he's also amongst the great souls are these unscrupulous persons, because naturally in the material world there are those who become envious of someone who is more advanced spiritually or even materially speaking. And those persons in this particular assembly were not expressing themselves. So he was actually more concerned with the people who were like gentle people, more advanced people, honest people. And at the same time, he wasn't presenting himself as some sort of authority, to command everyone. He was presenting himself in a humble state of mind and submitting himself before the assembly of great sages. So this is the great quality of a devotee, is that he's able to not even think about those who are envious and just focus on those who are sort of like more favorable. And we see that, Srila Prabhupada also had that great quality. He would not give too much energy to those who were envious. Sometimes, he would interview someone who was very envious, or he would try to get them to. He would either try to convince them, or he would just charm them with his natural charm, or he would just ignore them. He wouldn't give them any energy or time. So this is a great quality. And, we're all conditioned by the modes of nature, and we have these defects. And, even though Maharaj Prithu was actually above all that, he was still acting like an ordinary conditioned soul. He was just, he wasn't acting like he was a great empowered authority. So this is real humility. When someone's actually in that position and they present themselves just like an ordinary person, then you can surmise that personality is very advanced. Srila Prabhupada also did that. Someone asked him, I was reading today, someone asked him if he was ISKCON. And he said, no, I'm just a member of ISKCON. I'm not ISKCON. I'm a member of ISKCON. So, it shows you this quality of humility. Even though Srila Prabhupada created ISKCON, and he's the founder Acharya and the leader of ISKCON, he said, no, I'm just a member of ISKCON, like everyone else is. So it's really great how you can parallel these pastimes of these great personalities with Srila Prabhupada's personality and his pastimes. It's always good to compare and use Srila Prabhupada as an example of a more contemporary saintly person. All right, I think that's about all I can say, unless someone else wants to expand on that.
Nothing from my side, Prabhu. Thank you.
Yeah, I wanted to share something, but I'm not very sure of it, since I don't remember it exactly. My Guru Maharaj was sharing once in a class about Srila Prabhupada. So Srila Prabhupada once went to Australia and they had like a huge seat made for him. And there were some reporters or some people, and Srila Prabhupada knew that these are envious people. So he did not sit on that big throne like chair. And then they asked, why are you not sitting on it? So he said, because you won't be able to digest it. So there is a photograph where there is a big chair behind Srila Prabhupada, and Srila Prabhupada is sitting on a smaller chair, or he's sitting down something. So what Prabhu was saying, that there were many envious people and Srila Prabhupada had to deal with them. And he did not waste his time on them. He knew envious people will be around. So similarly for devotees also, should not waste our time on such people. They should just have compassion on them. That's what I feel. Thank you.
Yeah, nice pastime. Thank you, Mantaranga Seva Mataji and Rasarasika Prabhu. So the next verse and the purport are very long. Would all of you like to continue, or should we stop?
I think we can read it. There is still time. I don't know.
You want to read, Ruchi Mataji?
Yeah, I can read. I think there's what time is it?
It's
5:36.
yeah.
So yeah, I think I can. I mean, if everybody wants to stay, otherwise there's no point. We can continue. Tomorrow, I guess. So is it okay?
Okay, you can read, Mataji, and then maybe like keep the explanation like to 5 or 10 minutes. Is that okay?
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
Okay,
Hare Krishna.
thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Aham dandadharo raja prajanam iha yojata rakshita vritada shveshu seteshu svatika pratha. Translation. King Prithu continued, by the grace of the Supreme Lord, I have been appointed the king of this planet, and I carry the scepter to rule the citizens, protect them from all danger, and give them employment according to their respective positions in the social order established by Vedic injunction. Purport. A king is supposed to be appointed by the Supreme Personality of Godhead to look after the interests of his particular planet. On every planet, there is a predominating person, just as we now see that in every country there is a president. If one is president or king, it should be understood that this opportunity has been given to him by the Supreme Lord. According to the Vedic system, the king is considered a representative of Godhead and is offered respects by the citizens as God in the human form of life. Actually, according to Vedic information, the Supreme Lord maintains all living entities and especially human beings to elevate them to the highest perfection. After many, many births in lower species, when a living entity evolves to the human form of life, and in particular to the civilized human form of life, his society must be divided into 4 gradations as ordered by the Supreme Personality of Godhead in Bhagavad Gita. Chatur Varnyam, Maya, Shrishtam, etc. The 4 social orders, the Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, and Shudras, are natural divisions of human society, and as declared by Prithu Maharaj, every man in his respective social order must have proper employment for his livelihood. It is the duty of the king or the government to ensure that the people observe the social order and they are also employed in their respective occupational duties. In modern times, since the protection of the government or the king has been withdrawn, social order has practically collapsed. No one knows who is a Brahmin, who is a Kshatriya, who is a Vaishya, or who is a Shudra, and people claim to belong to a particular social order by birthright only. It is the duty of the government to re-establish social order in terms of occupational duties and the modes of material nature, for that will make the entire world population actually civilized. If it does not observe the institutional functions of the four social orders, human society is no better than animal society, in which there is never tranquility, peace, and prosperity, but only chaos and confusion. Maharaj Prithu, as an ideal king, strictly observed the maintenance of the Vedic social order. Prajayate iti pragya. The word prajayate iti praja. The word praja refers to the one who takes birth. Therefore, Prithu Maharaj guaranteed protection for prajanam, all living entities who took birth in his kingdom. Praja refers not only to the human beings, but also to animals, trees, and every other living entity. It is the duty of the king to give all living entities protection and food. The fools and rascals of modern society have no knowledge of the extent of the responsibility of the government. Animals are also citizens of the land in which they happen to be born, and they also have the right to continue their existence at the cost of the Supreme Lord. The disturbance of the animal population by wholesale slaughter produces a catastrophic future reaction for the butcher, his land, and his government. So I will try to concisely say what a little I understand from this verse. So, King Prithu here is saying that by the grace of the Supreme Lord, I have been appointed the king of the planet. So, everything that we get in life, any faculty or any talents we have gotten, any abilities that we get, our mindset, our way of thinking, our body, or like we read in the previous verse, our bodily makeup, everything we have gotten by the grace of the Supreme Lord, and also by our by virtue of the past deeds, like Antarang Seva Mataji said, according to the past deeds that we have, virtuous deeds we have done as a result of that. Even in Buddhism, it is said that yes, according to the works done in the past lives, we get this precious human birth and faculties of beauty or intelligence or other many faculties of a human being are gotten by the virtues of our past deeds and by the grace of God. So he has become the king. He has been appointed the king of the planet, which is equivalent to being a representative of Godhead. And it is his responsibility, like it is said, that with great position comes great responsibility. So he is carrying the scepter to rule the citizens. It is not for himself that he has become the king, like usually the kings have to make a lot of sacrifice. They don't have a personal life, as we see in the case of Lord Ram, that he hardly had any day of peace, but he had to sacrifice all his life for the welfare of the common good and keep them above his own personal life. So he has to carry the scepter to rule the citizens. Only a person who has the ability to sacrifice his own personal life and his own being for the higher welfare can actually go to that position where he can actually be the king and be a representative of the Supreme Lord, because other people still have the desire to enjoy the position in which they are in and take advantage of it. So he is carrying the scepter to rule the citizens, protect them from all danger, and give them employment according to their respective positions in the social order. So here, the most important things that we see in the verse are that the four basic needs of a human being: food, shelter, safety, like fear, um, and like sleep. So a king has to take care of living and all living entities, including animals. Here it is written, and so to protect them from all danger and give them employment according to their respective positions. And so it is like stressed a lot in this verse that uh, that he has to give them employment, so that one finds I forget the term we read in our sciences, that the greatest self-expression, I should say, they should find in their life, where they can fully express themselves, they can fully utilize the talents given by the Supreme Lord to them, and they can feel good about it and not take it as a burden, because that is showing that this is what is their basic inherent talent given to them by God himself, or by their previous proclivities which they have developed in many lifetimes. So that is what they are good at. But these days, everything is based on monetary viewpoint. Like we see that whatever job pays the most is considered good, but it is not considered. The standard today is not like the definition of a good job is like even if you are even if in our normal conversations, it is like what is a good job is how much it pays. It doesn't matter if the person is doing the work of which doesn't require skills based on again the skills based on the person's proclivities. It is not, no work is small, because especially here in this country, I really respect there is a lot of dignity of labor, that no work is, and actually that is also written in the Shastras, that no work is small or can be considered small, because the we are all units of the society, and the society cannot function without the smallest portion of this a small piece of the society. Like we see even in the animal kingdom, like ants or bees, they even have division of labor over there. And so it would be foolish to ask the queen bee to be doing the work of a laborer. So um, so basically, we have to take into consideration what is the natural proclivity, and that can only happen when everybody is assured protection and food and shelter, uh, in spite of whatever they want to do, and there is dignity of labor. Then only we can have a good society where people are not seeing everything from the monetary point of view, and the thing that pays the highest job is considered usually the best, which is not really good. We see that in India, especially from the country where I am, that either you are a doctor or you are like a CA or something, otherwise you're nothing if you've been into languages or stuff like that, even no matter how good you are. So so many things like uh, of course are changing there too, but we have to change this viewpoint of like monetary standard being the definition of a good job or a good livelihood, I should say. So so it is the duty of the king to ensure that the people observe the social order, like whatever they are meant for, whatever they feel happy in doing, like some have a skill of like making money with like a dead mouse, like we used to read in Amar Chitrakatha. There was a person, because he had the talent of making money, he knew what the society needed and he could provide it at the right time, and he had a knack of making money. So then that means his natural tendencies towards being a Vaishya, and there are other people who would be naturally fighters, who would fight and protect the weaker sections of the society. And then there is a section of the society who would be interested in gaining knowledge and imparting knowledge, and who have natural wisdom, who have a natural inherent sense of wisdom, or who have a natural flair for speaking and stuff like that. And so they would be able to address the people and inspire them towards following the right path of God, and those are Brahmanas. And then Shudras have a natural tendency towards being humble and serving the other sections of the society. Uh, but these days, a lot of humankinds have all the all the uh, four characteristics, because because we have evolved, I think. That's my personal opinion. And we all have shades of different varnashrams, but we cannot really say that this person is meant to be a. It's just natural tendencies, what the person might feel good in doing. In today's day and age, it would be rather like what the emphasis on from this verse I get should be that there should be uh, protection and food and shelter for everybody, so that they can do what they want, and their means of livelihood should not be dependent on like how they have to run the how they have to pay their bills. It should be rather dependent on what they like doing and how they can best contribute to the society, which has given them so much, which has given all of us so much. We are not islands, and we have to function as a society. And so we have to do our bit um, to make the society better. Like Einstein said that um, the only thing he feels, why he was so deep into the theory of relativity, is that it was his basic belief that we have to leave the world a better place than after we are gone, before we came, so that we make a difference, because the society has given us so much, and we should be able to do our bit in uh, making the society a better place after we have left. Some own contribution, whatever little, because it is up to God to judge what is the level of the contribution. We cannot judge what the person does. Only God knows how a person has contributed. So so that's my take on this verse, that even like the human beings and the animals also have to be protected, because basically God has given them birth, and they have a right to the land before we do. They have a land to the resources, they have a right to the resources, and the um and the um forces of nature have basically put them over there in that place. So they have the first right to the land, to the water, and to the shelter, um, before us, because we can actually make multi-rise apartments with our intelligence. God has given us intelligence, but God has given them natural land and shelter, which is theirs. But he has given us the ability to make our own shelters, natural, our own shelters, and make like multi-rise buildings out of a little piece of land. So we are actually encroaching upon the animals' rights, the plants' rights. And that is why we see that how it is clearly written that it is going to lead to a catastrophe if we are not respecting the rights of the other living creatures. And it is the responsibility of the king to responsibility of the government to ensure that every living entity which is placed in its governance area has rights and the right of existence, because that is being provided by God Himself. Nobody can give birth and nobody can uh, actually make a person die without God's will. So, so when we are misusing our rights, there is going to be naturally catastrophic events, which we see are happening, the virus and everything. So they have the right, the animals have the right to continue their existence at the cost of the Supreme Lord. And the disturbance of the animal population by wholesale slaughter produces reaction for the butcher, for the land, for the government, for the people who eat it, and for our whole prakriti, or for our whole nature as a whole. So that was my take. I tried to be really fast, but that was my understanding of the verse. And if anybody wants to add or say anything, please do so. So that I know that you were all listening.
Yeah, thank you, Ruchi Mataji. Very nice points, very relevant. Actually, any institution, any society must be run to keeping in mind and keeping in view the spiritual gain and spiritual progress of individuals. When money becomes the priority of any institution, it's unfortunate, even in ISKCON and like even in many temples, unfortunately money becomes the priority, because they feel without money they cannot do anything, because it's almost like an ingrained thing in the society that we grow up, I mean we live in. Because of that, like everybody thinks without money we cannot do anything, but best things happen when we can remove that from our consciousness and actually focus on the spiritual progress of the individuals and how to benefit them. Very nice.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ruchi Mataji.
Yeah,
Anyone
thanks
else? Yeah, Hare Krishna. Anybody
Hare
else
Krishna,
would like to share?
Yeah, Hare Krishna, Ruchi Mataji. Very nice class and very
Thank you
nice
for giving
point.
me the opportunity to speak, because I don't chant much. This is my only
Yes,
trying
Mataji, I
to.
am also very grateful to everyone in this class. They give an opportunity to speak because I also don't know much. So I can also try and share whatever I have learned and actually learn more from everyone. So the point that I just wanted to share one small thing. What Prithu Maharaj has said, that I give their employment according to their respective positions in the social order. So I just wanted to share a small story from my grandfather. My grandfather used to live in Konkan, and his ancestors and everyone were pujaris, they were brahmanas. But because when the British came and slowly the temples and everything shut down, there was no employment for them. So then he moved to Madhya Pradesh in Indore. Earlier he was in Maharashtra in India. And still that because he had those Brahmana tendencies, he took up a job as a teacher in a college, as a professor, and he used to teach physics. But then all of his children, they became engineer, doctor, banker, whatever. So whatever here it is written, employment according to their respective positions, because no one cared for the Brahmanas. They are today doing all sorts of odd jobs. Most of them are Shudras, most of them are working in some computer company. which is sad. And what I liked about ISKCON especially was Prabhupada said that because there are no Brahmanas, this is the condition of the society. And we need to create Brahmanas who are not running after money and who are satisfied and who want to know about the Lord. So that's what I want to share. Thank you.
Thank you, Antaringa Seva Mataji. Anyone else would like to add anything? It was a very interesting purport and very nice points brought up by Ruchi Mataji.
I would just like to add one point that we usually look down upon the Shudras, but like in any scripture, we know that devotional service is the only way to devotional service, which is like selfless service towards whether it be towards other beings or towards God or towards even a person who is impoverished, in the sense that uh, we are trying to help somebody who needs help at that point. Maybe that person is very rich, but let's say somebody is in his health is not doing well. At that time, if a person helps him, he is next to God. So I mean, that is true that we need Brahmanas. They are the highest. Even in the Shastras, it is written that they are the head of the. He is the head, representing the highest, the head of the Supreme Lord, like representing. But then I just wanted to emphasize that sometimes people, like generally people having the caste system and everything, look down upon the lower workers or Shudras, but I think we do not see them in the proper life. A Shudra is a person who is actually serving um, without any personal interest, because he wants to help other people, not for money or anything, but he wants to help basically. So even like a nurse or a doctor who is helping a person who is in a very bad health, that person may be very rich or maybe the king himself, but when he is sick, then for if the king is sick, then at that time the nurse or the uh, doctor who is helping him is next to God for him. So a person who cannot serve selflessly cannot even be the king, because even the king has to serve selflessly the the common public or the people he represents, or the normal human being. We see that in the form of in the example of Lord Ram. He was actually serving the people, and for that he had to sacrifice his own wife and his whole personal family for just uh, a small insignificant, we might consider a small insignificant washerman who thought that his conduct was not right. But for that, he had to even leave his own personal life, his own wife, who is considered the goddess of fortune, like he had to actually leave him. So I think that devotional service or serving selflessly is actually way more difficult. Being a Shudra, serving other people without a selfish interest is way more difficult than being a king. And even a king, until and unless he cannot serve, he cannot be the king. So we actually, not we, I should say, but many people consider Shudras to be like a person who is insignificant or below the other three castes. But actually all the three castes, I consider Shudras to be the highest, since serving selflessly is not uh, uh, if a person doesn't serve selflessly, he cannot be a good king, he cannot be a good businessman, he cannot be a good warrior, because even for being a warrior, he has to leave, like Arjun, his own personal interest and fight for the other common good. And if one is not able to sacrifice and do anything for the common good, then he cannot be adept in all the other three varnas. So actually one has to be a perfect Shudra before he can be a good Brahman or a good Kshatriya or a good Vaishya. He has to be a perfect Shudra first. So that I just wanted to clarify that that is the highest Varna system in ways. That is why it is just misunderstood, the Bhagavad Gita. So I just wanted to say that.
Very nice, Ruchi Mataji. Yeah, your point is well taken. Srila Prabhupada always says that the nature of the soul is to serve. Thank you.
Okay.
So it's 6:04. We'll end here for today, and we'll again resume Monday. And just for everyone's information, I know Rohini Mataji has joined after a long time. So on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, we'll be reading the Srimad Bhagavatam, as we always do. And Tuesdays and Thursdays, we'll be speaking on chanting the holy name of the Lord. It's the same link, same time. And I hope it suits everybody. Okay. Thank you very much, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Hare
Jai.
Krishna.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.